Morning, everyone. Welcome to, hold on, wait a minute, hold on. What is this thing? We don't need this thing anymore. CDC says we don't need it, and Dr. Fauci, I'm not sure what he's saying. So let me get started again. Morning, everyone. Welcome to our first membership meeting for this year, and really our first one since February of 2020. My name is Mike Cipineri, and I'll briefly go over a few things before introducing our NCRO president, Jay Cooney, to you. Jay will bring you up to date on pertinent items, especially the recent merger between FCA and Peugeot and what this new Stellantis company means to us. We plan on having our traditional in-person breakfast meeting at the San Marino Banquet Hall, just like in the past. However, even though there was a lot of support to conduct the in-person meeting again, we thought it would be more prudent to cancel it until we became more confident in the safety of social gatherings. So here we are, joined together via the webinar for this virtual meeting. We're hoping that we can continue the in-person breakfast meetings again, scheduled for this coming October 13th. Nonetheless, this is the NCRO's 47th breakfast meeting since NCRO began operation in 2008, even though it is a little different this time around. But nevertheless, it's still amazing that we've been able to sustain this string since 2008. And because of your support and interest, we thank you for that. And thanks to all of you for continuing to support the NCRO. About 200 of our members registered for today's meeting via the webinar. Let me review a few things before I introduce Jay. Please continue to visit our website at www.ncro.org for fresh and retiree relative information. Also, please try to keep your personal contact information up to date. You can do this from our website under the Members tab. That's ncro.org under the Members tab. Our outstanding insurance committee, led by Rich Brown and John Kaiser, continue to help our members navigate through the various issues confronting our members. Coming off a very successful webinar on January 28th, the next webinar presented by the Insurance Committee is June 24th. Jay will shortly present more details regarding the Insurance Committee and their capabilities. Please put June 24th on your calendar and look for this webinar notice as we get closer to that date. Thank you to all of you for paying your 2021 dues on time and responding promptly to our dues notice back in November and the reminder notice in February. Remember too, our dues is $25 per year. That's $25 per year, not per month, $25 per year. It's the best deal going to help ensure our pensions are safe. Especially thank you for your patience, allowing us the time to process and deposit the checks and eventually record your pay dates into our database. But for those of you who haven't paid your dues yet, please do so. It's never too late to pay your membership dues. And remember, as an NCRO member, you automatically will become a member of NRLN. And thank you especially for your continued contributions to our CAF. Please continue to support our retiree-friendly dealers who advertise on the homepage of our website. They are not only a source of revenue for our organization, but a good way for us to do our part to keep these dealerships and Chrysler healthy. And by the way, they continue to support the NCRO during the pandemic. Any questions or issues, please call our office at 248-633-2827. That's 248-633-2827. Or refer to our website at ncro.org for further contact information. Many of you have already contacted us regarding issues with WageWorks, reimbursements, dues payments, or just general benefit questions. Okay, so with that, let me just quickly review today's agenda. I guess I'm listed as the master of virtual ceremony, so that's pretty much that for me. In a second, I'll introduce Jay Cooney, our president. He'll bring you up to date on NCRO news and information. Then we'll have a question and answer period, and then we'll close out, and we should be done around 11:30, 11:35, I'm guessing. So with that, please take care and stay safe. And now please let me introduce and please welcome our NCRO President, Jay Cooney. Thank you and have a great day. Bye-bye.
You should be go now, Jay.
Good morning, everybody. How are you today? Let me add my welcome to what Mike Seminary said. Unfortunately, we really wanted to meet with you in person. For those of you who come to the meetings in person. However, given a couple of weeks ago when we had a scare with the COVID issues and the situation going on in Michigan, we decided that it probably made more sense to do this virtually. And Dale Cook's always been wanting me to do some on-site webinar type information. So we thought it was a good time to get back together. Just seems like it's been so long ago, but I will tell you, this is as weird as anything can get, sitting in my office and talking to the screen. And hopefully everybody out there hears me, and we'll be able to get through some questions and just kind of bring you up to date. So we really appreciate you guys attending with us, and we appreciate the fact that you guys continue to support us. And we hope this works out, but we can't wait to get back together again in October. So stay tuned. Now, if we can, let me go back and take you through the things that I want to talk to you about today. Really, there's three things. I want to give you a little bit of an update on the NRLN. As Mike said, that everybody that's a member of the NCRO is also a member of the National Retiree Legislative Network, which I think we've talked about this in the past. It's just this larger group that we utilize specifically for our work in Washington, trying to change legislation to do the things that retirees really need, and to help change the things that are causing problems. So I'll talk to you a little about the NRLN and what's going on there. Then I'll give you a little bit of an update on the NCRO, kind of what Mike said, a little bit on the history of what was going on with the merger, and a couple of things that we're working on and things that we have going. And the other thing is, and as Mike said, the insurance committee's actions. I want to take you through some of the things that they've been working on. And if those of you who have not ever used or had a call to use the insurance committee, they're an amazing group of guys that are there to try to help retirees, and our NCO retirees, with issues that they've run into. So let's talk about the NRLN for a second. First of all, I want to talk a little about pension overpayment update. And I think hopefully everybody who's on this webinar has been involved in some of the presentations that we made before and talked about pension overpayment and the issue that comes up where if the company has made a mistake, and this has happened to several, and unfortunately too many of Chrysler retirees, where after some kind of a review in the situation, and we've seen upwards of 15 years of a look back in terms of a mistake that was made in developing your pension, and then they told you this is how much you're going to make, and then some period later, like I said, I know it's happened up to several people up to 15 years later, they got a little letter in the mail that said, gee, we made a mistake and we paid you too much pension, and we want to collect it back from you. And generally the collection period was about 18 months. So in some instances, they overpaid it for 15 years and wanted to collect the overpayment back in 18 months. And obviously we had some issues with that. We fought with FCA at the time, trying to get them to change the process. Unfortunately, ERISA law allows for companies to charge back and collect the overpayments back from the pensioner, which we don't think is appropriate. But after about a year and a half or so working with FCA, we decided to continue on the process. So we decided at that point that it was time that we would hook up with the NRLN, and that we would work with Congress and try to get Congress to change the issue. Well, we've been successful to this point. We were able to create some language and change the situation through this language to allow, to first of all say that a company does not have to recover a pension overpayment. It is not their responsibility. They do not have to do it. However, if they want to, if that's something that they want to do, and that was kind of a compromise we had with all the businesses and whatever we had to work our way through, that they couldn't go back more than 3 years. So at least to put some short period of time in with the companies that they have to at least be looking for these things. And if there's an issue, they would catch it very quickly. The good part about it is when there's no interest payments that would be added to it, which current ERISA allows for that. And the best part of it is that the recoupment can only be done over 10 years. So that means 10% of the recovery could be done each year for 10 years. So again, it's a 3-year look back and it's a 10-year recovery. So we think that that's dramatically improved the situation that currently allows ERISA. In fact, one of the companies, AT&T in particular, a couple of years ago had some bad press because they went back and did a pension recovery for some people up to $150,000. And in that recovery, they wanted the money back in 30 days, or they were going to put the individuals out for a collection company. So as I show on the screen, the legislative language that the NRLN and the NCRO developed is actually in a current bill that was put out on May 4th. It's in the House of Representatives. It's Bill 2954, and it's already out of committee. It was put on May 4th, and it's already out of committee. It happens to be that the committee chair is the individual who wrote it, and the second in command in that committee. And in that committee is the sponsors of that bill. So this legislation is a dramatic improvement. So hopefully in the next month or so, you'll see an action order come up from the NRLN asking you to communicate with your Congress individuals to pass this bill. So if you see that coming out in the next short period of time, we would appreciate it if you would respond to that, so we could get some heat on our congressional representatives to pass this bill and get this taken care of. The second piece of it is the annual funding notice, which is something that we've gotten since we retired. You get it basically every April. You just got one about a month or so ago. However, we have some real problems with that, and we've talked about this in the past. The annual funding notice really doesn't give you the most accurate information. If you've looked at it, there's a bunch of charts on the front end of that gives you what I'll call a pre-MAP 21. And MAP 21 was a part of a law that was passed several years ago that allowed the companies to use a 25-year forward look on interest rates versus a 7-year look that the current ERISA law allows. So what it did for that was it because there's a projection of 25 years out, it would project that interest rates are going to go up. Well, if interest rates go up, and this is the marketing guy going to talk to you now, if interest rates go up, that means the liabilities go down. It was complete opposite. So that means that if you have that look back, that the funds, the pension plan will look like it's more highly funded than it does if they use the standard 7-year look back. That's one of the issues we have with it. The other issue is that the real value of the funding level of the pension plan is really based upon what the Pension Benefits Guarantee Corporation, the PBGC, looks at. So, for instance, if their pension plans were to be terminated because of a bankruptcy or termination of the company, if that were to happen, the PBGC then would take over the pension plans, and they value it completely differently than any of the ERISA laws are. And generally, that says that the PBGC would look at it that it would be somewhere between 20 and 30% less funded than our annual funding notices say. So we think that information needs to be put on the annual funding notice. And another issue is that the annual funding notice basically looks back at about 16 to 18 months of information. So when you get that information in April, the current information you look at is basically out of date. However, if you go to page 3 and all the writing, it gives you in verbiage, it gives you a current look at the end of the year. So there would be liabilities and asset information in that paragraph that shows the end would have shown in this April one would have showed the end of 2020. So the language that we have that is also included in HR 2954 is the language that the NRL and NCRO have put together, and it is actually in that bill. So again, if you see that notice, we think it's something that's very vital for retirees to get when they get the information, much more updated and much more accurate in terms of the funding levels of our pension plans. So again, if you see an action alert, please respond to that, because we'd like to get HR 2954 passed in the House and then on to the Senate. The last thing I talked about on the NRL basis is something that we've been working on behind the scenes an awful lot, and that is where the Medicare Advantage programs, and you see these advertised all the time. You see Joe Namath all over saying you can get all this for free, and you can get this and this and whatever. And that's on Medicare Advantage programs, but it does not carry over to original Medicare. So for those of us who are on original Medicare, we don't get those special benefits where you can get dental, or you can get driven to the offices. You can do all those types of things. You can get dental eyeglasses and gym memberships and all the things that are advertised there. It's available on Medicare Advantage programs in many cases, but not available on original Medicare. And what we're trying to accomplish is not to say that those benefits should not be taken, should be taken away from Medicare Advantage. We don't believe that necessarily, but what we think it should be is it shouldn't be discriminatory against people who are on original Medicare. So we're trying to push that if they're going to make some changes in the Medicare situation, that some of these changes are affected by this and are allowed to be given over to those of us who are on original Medicare. So that's a little bit of the update on the NRLN. Good organization that we spend a lot of time with, and they do good work for us in the Washington, D.C. when we go there. Let me switch a little to the NCRO updates. Hopefully, and I saw Mike tear off his mask and do whatever, and I'm not wearing mine. Hopefully, everybody out there is fully vaccinated, assuming you want to be vaccinated. And we're assuming now that we will do an October in-person triennial meeting on October 13th back at the San Marino Club for those of you who attend those. And we hope that we will get a great crowd, just because I think hopefully you're not any. You may be as ready as I am to get together and to meet everybody and to handshake people and give hugs and whatever, and see people in real life. So again, we're going to do that in October, in-person training meeting, and hopefully nothing will happen in between now and then. So I want to talk to you a little about the FCA PSA merger. I know it's happened in several months ago, but I wanted to go back and just talk to you about that and give you an idea of what the NCRO was doing during the period of time that worked its way up to the actual merger. And if I go back a couple of years, because I have a file on my computer that says FCA merger with Renault. I never started one prior to that because we had a bunch of comments and a lot of press going on about China. We were going to merge with China. So we started with China, then started with Renault. We did all sorts of work with Renault and tried to figure that out. And then here comes PSA. So I just wanted to recap a little about what we did to let you know what the NCRO was doing and what's happened and how what we think was somewhat influential in what was going on. We formed what we'll call a watchdog committee, a group of us onto the board with the sole purpose of meeting with people, understanding what was going on, and trying to work our way in to wherever we could to get the information we needed, whether it was somewhat inside of FCA at the time, whether it was outside of that, or outside of whatever we did. As part of that, we also formed a partnership with an outside counsel out of Washington, D.C. Very well-known organization that there's a lot of work in this area. And they helped us develop an action plan, or what were the things that we needed to do in order to try to ensure that we could influence whatever happened with this merger, that the retirees, our pension plans would go to the new company and we would be taken care of as best as we could. We worked very closely with that outside counsel. They developed a document concerning the merger, and based on all the available outside documents that they could find, whether it was in Europe, whether it was in the United States, wherever they could do that, they put together a whole synopsis of what could happen, what we thought might happen, and kept us on target in terms of the things that we're doing. We communicated with the FCA HR group. We actually met with them. And after a while, we finally were able to get a meeting with them. And their comment to us was, as we got close to the merger, and they sent it to us in writing, and I actually sent this out to our members, is they candidly explained the merger was very much business as usual. And their expectation was that all things would be the same for us as retirees. And in fact, so far, and I say so far because I mean that so far the mergers happened as we expected it. Our pensions were transferred. All the things that we were getting were transferred to the new corporation. And in fact, it seems like they're still working as FCA LLC USA in terms of the organization that we deal with and in terms of our benefits. So a lot of work was done over a period of 9 months or so. A lot of work done by our outside counsel. And for the moment, we're pleased that everything seems to be the same. Now, I say for a moment, just because you never know what can happen down the road. You never know what's possibility of changing. So we haven't stopped doing what we think we're supposed to be doing in terms of the watchdog. Our outside counsel, we continue to work with them, and they keep watching all the possibilities, whether it's coming out of Europe or out of the United States, and to see if there's anything that is written or comes up that may cause a problem for us in the future. So we are still at work, and we will continue to watch the situation as it grows. So that's kind of a situation on the merger. Next, because this is always something that's on everybody's mind, and that is, okay, how's our pension plan funded? How well is it funded, and how are we doing? So we also put our outside counsel putting a study together on what would be Stellantis / FCA's annual report that ended in the end of December, to kind of give us any idea of what we could glean from that and how were our pensions going to be funded, or what was going on with our pensions. What we found out was that the annual report said in there that the projection was for Stellantis to contribute 1.06 billion euros to the U.S. and Canadian pension plans in the year of 2021, so this year coming up. Why we say U.S. and Canadian pension plans in it is because that's how it was communicated. It wasn't broken out, and it probably, as far as we know, would be NBU and union plans as well. So it looks like next year they'll put over $1 billion in their pension plans, which is something that they haven't been able to put in the past. And if you see there on the screen, it says the projected benefit payments for the years 2021 through 2030 look to be about 1.4 billion euros a year payout for that period of time. So what that says to us is, if those are the benefit payments that they're planning to do, it says to us that we believe their intent that shows a positive intent, that is the kind of dollars and cents that will go into the pension plans in the future. And we were told by the FCA when they wrote the communication to us about things being basically business as usual, that the intent of the company was to fully fund their pension plan as the requirements are. So this information that came out at the end of the year annual report leads us to believe that the intent for the company is to continue to fund our program, our pension plans, and to make sure that all the payments are up to date. So as we stand, we think we're in pretty good shape. However, as I've said, that doesn't mean that we're going to just kind of sit back and not do anything. We'll continue to watch this. We'll continue to push Stellantis to fund their pensions. We'll meet with them as often as we can each year, and we'll continue to push that they will fund their pensions properly. So it's a little bit of an update there. So next, I want to talk about the insurance committee, because the insurance committee does a spectacular job of watching and helping our members. They work behind the scenes tirelessly to assist the retirees with their healthcare related issues. It's a great group of individuals with varied backgrounds, but they really are a spectacular group that spends a lot of time trying to help everybody and trying to educate everybody. So not only do they try to assist our members, and quite frankly, assist any of our Chrysler retirees, whether they're a member or not, on following up on issues that they have with either WageWorks or Benefit Connect or with Stellantis itself. But they also spend a lot of time doing things trying to provide educational information on various and sundry topics that can help educate our members in how to do things. So I would recommend that you go to the IC area on the NCRO website at ncro.org, and you can see across the top on the tabs, you can see the area that talks about healthcare and whether that's the area the IC has. And there's a wealth of information there that you should be able to take advantage of. Areas like, and we sent these kinds of things on how to deal with WageWorks. How do you put the information in? How do you ask for reimbursement on your HRAs, and how do you do those types of things? So there's basically primers there that you can find. There's also a lot of webinars there that they've put on, and you can watch those webinars and find out on specific areas. There's areas devoted to the reimbursements, as I said, with a slide-by-slide example. There's even a new section now on aging issues, and they're doing several seminars, educating seminars on the area on aging and the issues that we come up, whether you have an aging parent, whether you're involved or you have issues with aging and you need things to be taken care of. You need help in certain areas, whether it is financial planning or whatever, and they've done several seminars on those types of issues. The next seminar they're putting out is June 24th, and you'll shortly after this webinar, you'll see information coming out that'll tell you more about this webinar that's happening on June 24th on senior housing information. And if that's something you're interested in, you can sign up for it, and it's a really good webinar that can give you the information you need on this issue. And again, we'll do our annual aging into Medicare planned in September. Hopefully, assuming all things are continuing to get better with the COVID situation and we're all back to what is much more normal. Hopefully that will be an in-person seminar, as well as being broadcasted and being available on our website via film. So stay tuned for those. Great work done by the IC. There was currently a situation some people might have run into. I know we had some calls where they were not able to get reimbursed from their RHCAs. And I don't know if anybody that's on a webinar had that happen to them, but the IC guys got heavily involved with this, with the with Stellantis group. And we were advised last Thursday, and I think we sent you, hopefully you should have seen an email from us that there was a programming problem, and that programming problem was fixed. In fact, they used one of our members who had sent us in the complaint saying there was an issue. They actually used that individual as the test for was the system fixed and whatever, and based upon the information we got back from the member, that situation is fixed. So hopefully, if anybody out there had a situation with our HCA reimbursement, we hope that that issue has been taken care of. And then you might have seen or received a postcard talking about a Blue Cross Blue Shield settlement. And that Blue Cross Blue Shield card said that there was a settlement that was $2.67 billion for some issues that Blue Cross Blue Shield across the country and across all businesses and all of their systems was a result of a class action suit that was brought against them. And the settlement said it will establish a $2.67 billion settlement. But that $2.67 billion is what I'll call it a gross settlement. But the net settlement, meaning taking out all of the attorney fees, et cetera, will really be about $1.9 billion for claims. If you receive that card in the mail, postcard in the mail, hopefully, if you want to submit a claim, that you didn't throw it away. But there's information on that card, or required information to send back that you may or may not have, still have, because you may or may not have your Blue Cross Blue Shield numbers, the group numbers, and that type of information. So on that card, it explained how to participate. You have to submit an online claim or mail a claim, if you're going to do it by mail, by the 5th of November, this coming November 5th, 2021. And it goes to the Blue Cross Blue Shield settlement, and the information is on that on the card. If you need that information and you do not have the information, they say that you can contact the court administration, or there's a website for a Blue Cross Blue Shield settlement and for a website, and there's also an email address for email inquiries. What I think we'll end up doing is we will probably put together an email to send out to everybody, and just to have a discussion or to let you know about this information, provide the information for you to be able to get that from these sources. It really isn't able to, you really aren't able to get that from FCA or Stellantis. We'll call it Stellantis today. But there is a requirement for the address to be put in the Stellantis address, which will provide an email, because it's basically still 1000 Chrysler Drive in Auburn Hills, Michigan. But we will send out more information on that. But I know there was some confusion even within our board on what to do and how to do that. So we'll send out something that will clarify that, because I'm sure that would be a question that somebody will ask as we get to the Q&A period. So as you can see, the insurance committee does a lot more than we'll call insurance. They spend a lot of time working to correct issues that our members have, as I said, and they spend an awful lot of time on trying to develop educational pieces for our members to help with our aging process. So if you have any issues, on the screen it says to contact the NCRO IC, the insurance committee, and you can at INS, COM, at ncro.org. And if you do have an issue, I would recommend highly that you contact the IC committee, and we'll do everything we can do to try to assist you with the issues you might run into, to try to make sure that they're all taken care of. With that, I just want to say this. Over the years, I've been president for, I think maybe 10 years now, and I am just absolutely amazed and encouraged by the continuing support of our members. I know that when times are good, it's easy to become lackadaisical and say, well, everything's great. But the support you guys have continued to give us, and I will tell you that the board that represents you all is an amazing board. They are dedicated to helping maintain our pensions and benefits, and to do everything we can possibly do to do that. And that drive really is you guys, and your support and continuing support is the catalyst for the drive of the board to kind of do those things. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you do, and on behalf of the board, thank you very much for your support, and we just hope that you'll continue to give it to us as we look forward as what happens with Stellantis and how do these things go, and to ensure that we work to protect our pensions and benefits. So with that, I don't know if I turn it back over. I think we have some questions, okay, the question says, a few years ago, Chrysler sold much of its pension obligations to Athene Insurance Company and another insurance company, which was Prudential. And it wasn't much. I'll after I get to the question, I'll answer it. Those insurance companies continue the former Chrysler pension payments in the form of direct monthly annuity. Last month, it was announced that Athene Holding Company is being bought by Apollo Global Management. What is the impact on our monthly annuity payments, the former Chrysler pension payments? The PBGC does not offer any protection for this current annuity arrangement. Apollo has announced its intention to use some of the Athene's cash on hand for other investment purposes. Does doing that make our annuity highly vulnerable to future benefit reductions? Well, let me go back and try to answer it this way. First of all, there were two annuities that were purchased. The first one was Athene, and the second one was by Prudential. And they were a small, I would say very small, but they were a fairly small part of the overall amount of dollars in assets in the pension plan. So what they did was they took certain individuals and they sold out their pensions to Athene and Prudential. As we understand it, and as was written to us actually in a document by at the time FCA HR, that the way the purchase of the annuities was done was to hold the dollars and cents that were Chrysler pension dollars and cents into a separate account outside of what would have been Athene and Prudential's dollars and cents. That our pension plans were set up to where, if in fact Athene or Prudential went out of business, that ours would not be affected. So that's how we understand it, and that was what we got in writing from FCA HR. So we'll do some checking in this, because this is the first I've heard of this. We'll do some more checking into this as best we can. But as far as we know, that should not make the annuities vulnerable to future benefit reductions. That should not, based upon what we were told by the company. But again, we'll try to do a little bit of more research on that to see what that issue, if there is any issues. But I do not believe, based on what we were told, that there should be any issues. Second question is, are any retiree benefits affected as a result of the formation of Stellantis? Currently, at the merger, as far as we know, and as far as we were told, there were no retiree benefits affected as a result of the formation of Stellantis. The pension plans went over as they were. Our health, as we know, the health information stayed the same. Those of us who receive HRA payments, that's the same. So we were told that it was be business as usual. So far, as we see it, it has been business as usual. But again, we'll continue to watch that. And if we hear of anything that's changing, we will certainly address that with Stellantis and try to ensure that all things that we were told will continue on as they grow as an organization. Okay, any other next question if we have one? Okay, it's an interesting one. Will the 2022 lease car program reflect the increased values of our turn-in vehicles and continued low interest rates? A great question. And my answer will be basically on what I think will happen. I don't know anything yet from any communications that we've had with a company car. But if you know how the program is developed, they do the lease rates that they charge us based upon a balance between what the cars cost and what the cars return. And I think they look at each one, and that's why you see different groups of, 2.1, 1.9, 1.7, 1.5. You see different groups of vehicles in different percentages. Some of that has to do with they have overproduction, obviously, and they want to put lower rates on vehicles that they want to entice us to lease. That's one way. But another way is they look at the value, and if the used car values are significantly better, it allows them to not charge as much when the cars come back. So my guess would be, and this is just what it is until we hear further, my guess would be that the 2022 lease car program will be very similar, if not identical, to the way it is set up in 2021. Although you might see some vehicles, that are available to lease or not available to lease, and that's clearly based on their business decision on are there vehicles, hot vehicles that they want to get out to release to the dealers and collect dollars and cents for, are there vehicles that are slower turn vehicles that they need to help on production. But that happens, that's happened every year since the program's been involved. So I would assume that the program will be very similar this next year as it is this year. Next question says, some pension recipients were transferred to an insurance company. Yes, we talked about that at Athene and Prudential. Is that process all over now? My pension remains in the sponsor, with a sponsor in PBTC. What we were told was that they currently, and that's the term they use, currently there was no intent to do any more annuities at the current time. But that doesn't mean that there wouldn't be future possibilities in the future. We ask that question all the time, and it's always on our mind because we want to make sure that if they do any pension transfers to annuities to insurance companies, that there are processes and they're done in a specific way. That's currently certainly the companies that they choose are companies that you expect would be strong companies and would not have any financial issues or situations that would cause a problem. And the biggest issue we have is that they continue the process that they've used so far. And it was the one that, as far as we know, was started by General Motors, and that's why we talked to them about this. When General Motors did theirs, with Prudential, they set up the funds outside of Prudential's funds, which meant that if there was a bankruptcy with Prudential, that those funds would not be commingled with Prudential funds. And we have been assured by the company that that's how the two transfers were done. So, to answer is, will it ever happen again? I don't think that's what they're looking at to do, because I think the next step they have to do is a lot more difficult than the first two they did. I think the first two they did, and when I use the term low-hanging fruit, I don't mean that in a negative perspective, but it was easier for them to do because of the size of the pension recipients. If you remember, they limited the amount of monthly pension plan payment to a smaller amount of money, which meant that they didn't have to spend a lot of money or didn't lose it, but it allowed, what it did was it allowed them to not pay pension premiums to the PBGC. The next step, if they would do some of these, is going to be much more difficult, and there are premiums that need to be paid to these insurance companies. So that means they pay more than 100%. So let's say they, instead of transferring 100%, they transfer maybe 110%. Or even up to 115% of assets for the insurance company to take over. So I think our estimation is that that's going to be much more difficult for them to do, because they don't want to take that kind of money out of their product development process. So long answer is, we think for the short term at least, or for the medium term at least, it is over. But one never knows until they kind of contact us and let us know what they're thinking about doing. Sorry for the long answer, but that's best I can do. Okay, no more questions? Oh, yes, we do. Have you heard of any early retirements being offered in the future? No, I haven't. In fact, the last sets of people that I've known have retired have actually chosen to retire and went out on their own without any kind of early retirements. But I have not. And generally, we hear it from you guys out in our members that pick it up from their friends, relatives, or whatever that are currently working. But I have not heard of any early retirements being offered, at least in the short term. Okay.
That's all I've got, Jay.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Again, hopefully this was a positive thing for you guys to do. We appreciate you attending. It is really weird. I'd much rather look at your faces when I'm talking, and I much rather be able to give you a handshake and spend some time talking to you. So without hopefully with no changes and everything getting better, we can do that in October on the 13th. We can get together and we can have a wonderful breakfast at the San Marino Club. So with that, again, thank you for attending. And again, if you need to contact us, you can find the contact information on our website at ncro.org. Hope you have the rest of the great day. Thanks, everybody.